Okay, so today what we're doing is we're using, sit down Justin, we are using tables to write equations from word problems classwork. So the first thing that you guys need to do is you need to copy down your homework. Okay, so there's not much homework this week because of the trips. So what we need to copy down, okay, is you need to copy down Monday. Tonight's homework is writing and solving equations. And tomorrow you'll be taking a quiz right when you walk in. And then we're going to finish an activity. So what we're doing today is going to go straight into the activity that we're going to do tomorrow. Yes?
So if we don't finish that activity,
it's due the following Monday.
Oh, so what if we bring on the trip? Are we not allowed to?
I would hope you wouldn't bring it on the trip.
Oh.
Don't bring it on the trip. Okay. Shh. You're going to finish it in class tomorrow.
Oh.
All right. So copy this down right now. Yes. All right, so before we go into what we're doing today, we need to review how to solve an equation. So we have this equation, 3x plus 2 groups of x minus 5 equals 6x plus 8. So how do I solve this equation? What would be my first step? Malin. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do the distributive property, and what am I going to get, Malin? And then over here, I'm going to bring down a 3x. So I should get 3x plus 2x minus 10. And on the other side, Malin, what will I have? So I'll have 6x plus 8. No. So what would the next thing I do be? What would the next thing do? Megan. Okay, so what would I get when I combine like terms? 5x minus 10 equals 6x plus 8. Okay, what's my next step gonna be? Nick. Okay, so I'm gonna add a negative 5x to both sides. And Nick, where is my 0 gonna go? Where's my circle gonna go? The 5x and the negative 5x. Okay, so Nick, what would I have left on this side? Just 10? So negative 10. And what would I have left on the other side, Nick? X plus 8. You're going to get kicked out if you don't cut it out. All right, so what would my next step be? So now I have negative 10 equals x plus 8. What am I going to do next, Allie? So I'm going to add negative 8 to both sides. So where's my circle going to go, Allie? Around the 8 and the negative 8. Okay, so then, Allie, what will I be left with? So it's like adding negative 10 plus negative 8. So I get negative 18 on this side, and then what will be left on this side? X. So my final answer is x equals negative 18. Okay. All right, so what we're doing today is we're taking a table in the 5D process, and we're changing the process. Instead of doing a bunch of trials to find our answer, we're going to write an equation to find our answer. So our I can statement is I can extend and modify the 5D process by taking the variable expression and writing it as an equation. Okay, so our goal is to write an equation to solve. All right, so I'm just going to read this. It says, using a table to write equations from word problems. In the last few lessons, you used algebra tiles and equation mats to solve problems in which variables represented specific numbers. The tile and equation mat tools are related to the processes you have used to solve word problems in which a specific value is unknown. Today you will connect these two tools and the expressions you wrote using part of the 5D process to extend your repertoire for solving problems. Okay. So for the first problem, we are going to start off by using the regular 5D process. And that's what you guys are going to do in your groups. You can use a calculator, okay, to help you out. and I'm going to explain to you what we're going to do next. So it says, use the 5D process to set up the following problem. Complete only 3 trials. Even if you do not yet know the solution, wait for your teacher's instructions. The Great Lakes contain the largest amount of fresh water on the surface of the planet. Combined, the 5 lakes, Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario, contain 84% of North America's and 21% of the world's surface fresh water. So then it goes on to tell us the amount of water in Lake Superior is 1,720 cubic miles, more than the amount of water in Lake Michigan. Lake Huron has 330 cubic miles of water, less than Lake Michigan. If the total amount of water in the 3 lakes is 4,930 cubic miles, how much water is in each lake? So it says check the reasonableness of the amounts of water you find for each lake by using estimation strategies. So for example, if we do this problem and we get that Lake Superior has 6,000 cubic miles of water in it, that would make no sense because all 3 lakes together have 4,930. Okay, so we want to make sure that our answers make sense. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to first do the describe. Okay, so we're just going to take our describe from this part. So in your groups, I'm going to give you guys about a minute. I want you to do the describe, okay, for this problem. All right, go. So Zach, what's one important piece of information that you get from that problem?
84% of North America?
No, you're only taking from the part about the water in the lake. So who's more than Lake Michigan? Who has 1,720 cubic? So we're going to write Lake Superior has 1,720 more than Lake Michigan. Okay, what's another piece of important information? Lindsay. Okay, so Lake Huron has 330 less than Lake Michigan. Okay, what's another important piece of information? Peyton. So total is 4,930 cubic miles. Okay, good. So we have the describe. The next piece is to start setting up our table to do our trials. So our goal is to remember how to do the trials and then figure out a way to do them without the trials. So first thing we're going to do is decide or define. So what am I going to do in the define section? How many columns am I going to create for the define section? Hazel. 3. I'm going to have 3 columns. Okay, and what am I going to label my 3 columns? What am I going to label my 3 columns? Jenna?
One would be Lake Superior.
Correct. One would be Lake Superior. Which one do you think should come first, though, Jenna?
Michigan.
So Michigan should come first. And then after that, I'm going to put Superior. And then what would the last one be, Jenna?
Me?
Yeah.
Huron.
Huron. So I chose to do Michigan first because it's the one they all rely on. Okay. So then I always like to skip to the decide next. So Allie, what am I trying to decide? What number am I, that's some total?
4,930.
4,930 is my decide. And then how do I get to it? So what am I going to do in the do section, Caleb, to figure out how to get my 4,930?
You have to go for Michigan. Would have to add one.
So what is this number, Caleb? Is it, tell me about what we wrote about the 4,930.
Total.
It's the total of what?
All the lakes.
All the lakes. So how do I get that total?
The add.
Add what?
Numbers. The miles of the lake.
The miles of the lake. So my do section, I'm going to add Lake Michigan plus Lake Superior plus Lake Huron. Okay? All right, so what I want you guys to do now is I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes, okay, to try to come up with 3 trials. So you're going to pick a number for Lake Michigan and then use what we know about the other ones to come up with a value for Superior and Huron, and then just decide whether it's too big, too small, or just right. You are only going to do 3 trials, okay? So focus back up here. All right, so did anybody get it? Did anybody get the right answer? No, that's not what I asked. Did anybody get it in one of their 3 trials? Justin, did you guys get the answer? No. All right, so let's go over some of the trials you did get. So Maddie, what was one of the numbers you guys chose? So Lake Michigan was 650. So then what would Lake Superior be?
2,370.
How'd you get that? Okay, and what was the answer? 650 plus 1,720 was? 2,370. Okay, so then what was Lake Huron? Okay, so then you added them all together to get, so 650 plus 2,370 plus 320, and what was it? Sorry? 3,340. And was that too big or too small, Manny? Too small. All right. So 650 was too small. So so you guys, you need to have it written down on your paper. So Owen, what was another trial you guys tried?
We tried 1,200.
So we tried 1,200. Okay, so what did you then get for Lake Superior?
2920.
2920. Okay, so then what did you get for Lake Huron?
870.
870. So then you added them all together.
Um,
So 1,200 plus 2,920 plus 870. And what did you get as your answer, Owen?
4990.
4990. And was that too big or too small?
That was close.
Too big. So it's close, but it's still too big. Okay, so did anybody pick a number between 650 and 1,200? Did we pick a number between? Jenna?
1,130.
So you picked 1,130. All right, Jenna, what'd you get for Lake Superior? 2,850. What did you get for Lake Huron? 830.
4,800.
So when I add them all together, what did you get as your answer again, Jenna? 4,810, which was too small. But again, pretty close. All right. So the thing is that we could keep guessing. So we know that it's somewhere between 1,200 and 1,130, but we could maybe guess 1,150 next. Okay. So we want to come up with a method, okay, where instead of continuing to do trials and narrowing it down, we have an exact way to get the correct answer. Okay. So instead, we're going to use our variable expressions. So the last thing we did in the 5D process was come up with a way to write a variable expression. Okay. So one of our lakes should be X. So which lake, Caitlin, should I make X?
Michigan.
Michigan, because everything relies on Michigan. So Michigan should be X. So then how does Lake Superior relate to Lake Michigan? Cece. Yep, it would be X plus 1,720 because it told us that Lake Superior was 1,720 more than Lake Michigan. All right, how about Lake Huron? How can I write an expression for Lake Huron? Nick? X minus 330. Because Lake Huron is 330 less than Lake Michigan. Okay, so then the last step was to write the variable expression. So we want to take M, which is X, the S, which is X plus 1,720, plus the H, which is X minus 330. And we write it all together. So we do X plus 1,720 plus X minus 330. So instead of it just being an expression, we now want it to be an equation. So what is our equation going to equal? What are we trying to get when we add all those lakes together? What are we trying to get? Zach?
4,930.
4,930. Okay. Any questions so far? Keegan? 4,930? It was given to us in the problem. It told us that's what all the lakes were all together. So we know that if we know what x is, this is how we were doing the 5D process, right? So we're guessing for the Lake Michigan, and then adding on 1,720 for the next one, and then so we know that these three lakes together have to equal that. So therefore, these three expressions have to equal that. Okay. Right. So now we're going to solve. So first thing I want to do is simplify. So what can I simplify on this side of the equation? What can I simplify on that side of the equation? Hazel. So is there anything from over here that I can combine together? So actually, there's how many x's? 3. So I can add all 3 x's. So Hazel, what do I get when I add x plus x plus x? So I'm going to get 3x plus, what else can I add? What else can I add? Cece. So I can combine the x's. What other thing can I combine? Yep. So I can do 1,720 minus 330, which is what? So with your calculator, do 1,720 minus 330. And what do you get, Caitlin? 1,390. And that's going to equal 4,930. Okay. So now I go into my regular solving equation mode. So I want to get rid of this 1,390. How do I do that, Jake? How do I get rid of 1,390? So I'm going to subtract it. I'm also going to subtract it from here. This is my 0. So I get 3x equals, what's 4,930 minus 1,390? Keegan. 3,540. Okay. Okay, so then what's my last step going to be? So I have 3x equals 3,540. What do I do next? Natalie. Exactly, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And Natalie, what am I going to get? X is going to equal 1,180. Okay, so we're not done yet though. That just tells me how much water is in Lake Michigan. So 1,180 is how much water is in Lake Michigan. How can I figure out how much water is in Lake Superior? Malin? Yeah, so I do 1,180 plus 1,720 and get 2,900. Okay. How can I then find out how much water is in Huron? Zach?
1,180 minus 330.
Yep, I can do 1,180 minus 330, which is 850. Okay, so I get 850. So the last step is then to write a declare. Okay, so I'm going to write out a complete sentence for each one of my lakes. So Lake Michigan, I'm just going to say Lake M, is 1,180 miles cubed. Lake Superior is 2,900 miles cubed. And Lake Huron is 850 miles cubed. Okay. Any questions about that? No. Okay. All right. So go to the next question. It's on the back. We're going to analyze somebody that already started this process. So somebody already started creating the table, okay, and we're going to take the information they put in the table to try to figure out where they were coming from. So it says, as you saw in problem 1, sometimes organizing your thinking using the 5D process to solve a word problem involves a lot of work. Sometimes the tables are very complicated, or the numbers require many trials to find the answer. How can you use your new equation solving skills to help you solve word problems? Read the following word problem and then answer the questions below. So I'm going to give you, we're going to do this first part just kind of together. So it says, while looking at the country of Jamaica's results from the 2008 Beijing Olympics, Gemma noticed that the number of gold medals Jamaica received was twice the number of silver medals. She also realized that Jamaica received 1 fewer bronze medal than silver medal. Altogether, Jamaica received 11 medals. Okay? So it says Gemma started by setting up the 5D process table below. What did she define X to represent? So in our table, what is X? So just look at the table. What is X? Jake. X is silver. So in the box, we're going to write the number of silver. Okay. So it's the number of silver. Then it goes on to ask us, so we still need to use our table. It goes on to ask us about gold and bronze. So in part B, it says, how did she represent the number of gold and bronze medals? Okay, so how did she represent the number of gold medals? Vincent.
She did 2 times silver medals.
So what was her expression in her table, though? So her expression was 2x. Okay, how did she represent the bronze medals? How did she represent the bronze medals? Caleb. She did x minus 1. Notice, too, that she didn't say x times 2 or 2 times x. She just did 2x. So anytime we multiply in these, we want to just write it as the number next to the variable, because otherwise it might get mixed up in our equation. All right. So then from her table, we want to write an equation. So who thinks they know what the equation might be? What might our equation be? Nick. So x plus 2x plus x minus 1, and what's it going to equal, Nick? So look at the side in the column. So look in the table. So it's going to equal 11. So we're going to write that whole equation. X plus 2x plus x minus 1 equals 11. Okay, so it takes, so we can say this is the silver, the gold, and the bronze, and all together they got 11 medals. Okay, so then in part D, we want to solve our equation. So we have, rewrite it, x plus 2x plus x minus 1 equals 11. So what am I going to do first to solve this equation? What am I going to do first? Bradley.
Combine your x.
Okay, so what do I get, Bradley, when I combine all my x's?
5x.
Close, but, so this is 1x, 2x, so 4x, and then bring this part down, minus 1 equals 11. Good. So I get 4x minus 1 equals 11. Jenna?
I know the answer.
We're not done. This is how you have to find the answer to it. So guys, we're not finding the answer and plugging it in to see if it's right. We're solving an equation to find it. So even though we might be able to figure the answer out without the equation, the lesson on is on writing the equation. All right, so what am I going to do next? I have 4x minus 1 equals 11. What's my next step in solving? What's my next step in solving? Jake. So Jake, I need to get rid of this minus 1. How do I get rid of the minus 1? Plus 1. So I'm going to add 1 here, draw my circle. So I get 4x equals 12. Okay, what's my next step going to be? What's my next step? Lindsay? No, I have x's on one side now and one side. So how do so I divide both sides by 4. So that's where my giant 1's going to come in play. So Lindsay, then what does x equal? X equals Okay. Good. So then it also wants to know what does this represent. So x equals 3 represents what? 3 is what in this problem? What is 3 in this problem? Caleb, what metals? The silver metals. So we're going to say it represents the 3 silver metals. The 3 silver metals. So then part E says, how many gold medals did Jamaica earn? Explain how you know. So how can I then figure out how many gold medals Jamaica had? Right, Megan. Right. So I do 3 times 2, which is what, Megan? So 6 gold medals. Because I just used it, I know it's 2 times more. So it's 2 times more, so then I would just do 3 times 2. Okay. Any questions? Zach. 3 times 2 equals 6 gold medals, because I'm plugging it back into the 2 times x. Okay. So for the next problem, we're going to do kind of parts on your own and then kind of regroup. So at the top, it gives you a little bit of instruction. We're going to kind of ignore that. The instructions are going to be to, because it says try a trial if you want, and I don't want you guys to try trials. I want you to just go straight to writing and solving the equation. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're still going to do the describe. You're going to set up the table, but only with variables, and then you're going to solve the equation using our method of drawing 0 pairs, dividing both sides. Okay, so it says a person's height is positively associated with his or her arm span. The distance between the ends of the fingertips, his arms, are held out on each side of the body. So if you were to hold out your arms, the distance between your fingertips and your height are related. Okay? One of the tallest men in history had an arm span measuring 7 inches more than his height. The combined total of his arm span and height was 221 inches. How tall was this man? All right? So first, I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds or so. I want you to describe. Write down the describe. Go. So what is one important piece from this paragraph? Robert, what's one important piece of information we can pull? Okay, so we could say that our arm span relates to our height. Okay, what's something else we could say? What's something else that's important? Megan. Right, so his arm span is 7 inches more than his height. Okay, what else does the problem tell us? What's another key piece of information? Bradley.
Total is
Right, the total is 221 inches. Okay. So then how many columns do we need in the defined section of our table? How many columns do we need? Caleb. 2. What are our columns going to be? What are the 2 things in the problem? His arm span and his height. His arm, which one comes first? Height. So the height should come first, and then his arm span. So then what is our decide? What number are we trying to get to? What's the number we're trying to get to for the decide? Jenna? 221. How do we get that number? What do we do in the do section to figure out that number? What are we going to do? Allie? Yep, so we're going to add the arm span and the height. All right. So now instead of doing trials, we're going to go straight to the variable. So what variable should we, which one should we make the x, the height or the arm span? Which one should be the x, the height or the arm span? Jake? So because the height is related to the arm span, so we say something about the arm span to find the height? Does everybody agree with Jake that it should be the arm span? No, it should be the height. The height should be x. So then how do we relate the arm span to the height? Plus 7. So we're going to write x plus 7. Okay, so then what might our equation be, Ellie?
X plus 7.
So x plus 7 equals 221. Okay, so now we're going to solve that equation. Okay, so I'm going to simplify first. So what can I simplify with the x plus 7 equals 221? Owen, how can I simplify this?
You can add the 2x's to 2x.
So I add the 2 x's and get 2x plus 7 equals 221. Okay, what would my next step be? Malin. So I'm going to subtract 7. So I get 2x equals, what's 221 minus 7? Vincent. 214. Okay. So then what's my next step? What do I do next? What am I going to do next? Zach? Divide both sides by 2. So it's what, Keegan? So x is going to be equal to 107. So then I can say that he's how tall? How tall is he? How tall is he? He's 107 inches. So we can say the man is 107 inches.
That's all.
100. So 107 inches. Okay, so what if I wanted to change that 107 inches into feet? How would I change it into feet? Lindsay? So I can divide it by 12. So if I want to do 107 divided by 12, it goes in 8 times. I get 96 with 11 left over. That means he's 8 feet, 11 inches tall. So he's 1 inch away from being 9 feet.
How tall is the tallest man?
This was the tallest man.
Oh.
Wasn't that guy like last grade?
I don't remember. I'm not sure.
I wish you would have hit her.
All right. He didn't live very long, if I remember correctly. He was, yeah. No. He's one of the tallest men.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were saying was, is.
Well, he was because I don't believe he's alive anymore. Because people who are, so when you're like taller than the average,
When you're like, you're thinking.
no, I'm not saying like he grew more. I'm not saying that he grew more. I'm saying that he's probably not alive anymore. So was as in past tense.
Like, I'm thinking that he was
Yeah.
like what you're saying was more people. Yeah, sure. What?
You're taller than
All right. Quiet. All right. So here's what I want you guys to do. You're going to try this problem on your own. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes, and then we're going to go over it. Okay? So read it in your group, checking your answer. Okay. Quiet. So what am I going to do in the describe section? So what's important information, Megan, from the problem? Okay, so a whale can hold its breath 3 times longer than a beaver. Okay? Now, so Jake, what's another piece of important information?
a hippopotamus.
Okay, so a hippo,
A hippopotamus. Can hold its breath 5 minutes less than a beaver.
5 less
And
than a beaver. Okay? So Zach, what's another important piece of information?
it's 95 minutes to get a whale, beaver, and a
So 95 minutes together. All right. So how many columns am I going to have in my table? How many columns am I going to have in my table? Nick, 3. Okay, and what am I going to label my columns? So Malin, what am I going to label my columns? Okay. All right. What am I trying to decide? What's my final number going to be that I'm trying to decide? Kaylin. So I'm trying to decide 95. And what am I going to do to get to 95? What am I going to do? Caleb, what am I going to do?
Add all of them together.
I'm going to add them all together. All right, so what are my variables? So what am I represents x? Which one's going to be x, Zach? The beaver is going to be x. So what do I write for the whale? Vincent, what do I write for the whale?
It's x times 3.
So instead of writing it x times 3, though, you always want to make it x, 3x, because otherwise you might add it in the wrong spot. All right, so what's going to be for the hippopotamus? Maddie? X minus 5. All right, so what's my equation? What's my equation? Jake?
Add the beaver, the whale, and the hippopotamus.
So I add the beaver, the whale, and the hippopotamus. What do I get when I do that?
I know! That goes
Zach?
x plus x
3x
3x minus 5. X minus 5.
plus x minus 5 equals what, Zach? Equals 95. All right, how do I solve that? Because you're not going anywhere till we're done. How do we solve it? Okay, Maddie? So what do I get when I add them all together?
5x minus 5.
So I get 5x minus 5 equals 95. Okay, Maddie, what do I do next? So I add 5 to both sides, and I get,
5x equals
so 5x equals 100, and then I divide both sides by 5 to get x equals 20. And the question wants to know about the beaver, so the final answer is the beaver can hold his breath for 20 minutes.